Hello, hello, hello. This is Mohammed SHYLLON coming to now from the state of North Carolina, and it is 4 o'clock in the evening here in the United States, and I'm sure it's 9 o'clock back home in Sierra Leone, and then different times in different part of the world. Welcome everybody. Happy New Year. We hope most, if not all of us, we can listen to a program when I know what you would do, when I know how to conduct them. I mean, you will listen to what you would say. If you get idea for contribute, you can contribute. If you get questions for ask, you can ask. The only thing we will require of everybody, when you call, just be respectful to both the host and to fellow callers. We know they tolerate insults or abuses, because that's not the purpose of the show. The show is to try for inform ourselves and for try for understand ourselves. So again, Happy New Year to everybody. For those of you who are not familiar, will not get the requisite or required information, where we all normally get for making a reach we'll get a toll-free number when 1-866-944-7722. 1-866-944-7722. If you are calling from the UK, we'll get the plus 44 203 239 9581. Plus 44 203 239 9581. From Australia, it's plus 61 280 064 352. Plus 61 280 064 352. And on WhatsApp is 1-343 997 5828. 1-343 997 5828. So when I can reach you in any of their numbers, and they depending on where you're calling from. So today the program is just going to entail what you would call the year 2021 in review, just for highlight certain things politically, socially, educationally, whatever I want to think say is worthy of highlighting in terms of either achievement, social achievement, or something way important would dampen the reputation of the country or the natural infrastructure. So we also welcome when I for this call for let we know how I want to feel. So you people are welcome. That said, I pass on to my co-host, Mr. Professor Mohammed KUTUBU KOROMA, who is my co-host. And we also have a co-host who happens not to be here today because she's still out of the country, Savage, but she's not here today. So having said that, I pass on back to Professor KUTUBU.
Thank you so much, Mr. SHYLLON. Like you said, in the very first show this for 2022, and we decide for make our informal, we dey relax. We know actually they make the 2 grand thing. We look waiting me not happen for the whole of 2021. We start say we tell God thank you. It also too, especially with all the corona and super corona with brothers and sisters and don't go na Salone, they did it, go on the holiday, some of them they experience, and all that saying it. So glad so they look at things and from a whole lot of perspectives. So Mr. SHYLLON, you can even begin, the program, but one everybody knows it's not just 1 hour program, this just 1 hour. By 5 o'clock we're here. So if possible get for call now for share your own experience with we're glad. So Mr. SHYLLON, back to you, sir.
Yeah. Well, for me on perspective, the view of the work or the profession to which I belong, I just want for us, let us start with the justice system of the country, whether, and if possible, I will give a score, which in me, or a rating or a scorecard of the country in terms of the justice system. Because when we talk about justice system, for we were there abroad for a long time and we're in the profession, we like to see a whole lot of improvements way for take place, but will not take place, and we'll not get any indications it will take place. Let us start off with the rights of individuals. That's the right of people, ordinary citizen. First and foremost, if we get a system who will claim, say, it's a system that presumed a defendant innocent until proven guilty, we must treat that defendant there as if he is innocent until proven guilty. We cannot treat the defendant as if he is guilty until he is proven innocent. And what I see in Sierra Leone, there is a lot of that. Just by way procedure. First and foremost, if I have anything to do with the system of justice in Sierra Leone, first and foremost, I will question the prison system, you know, in the sense that prisoners are not being well taken care of, both in terms of the just physical space within they, you know, and then the kind of clothes within they wear, and also the kind of food or the quantity of food within they eat. I think by Sierra Leone standard, it doesn't take that much to feed prisoners, because most of the time, na plasas them they cook, na upamine, na rest. So it's not like the country where you get for give the man breakfast, and morning you get for give an egg, you get for give this, or lunch, you get for give that. And I don't see any reason why, if just because you're in a prison, you know, for eat 3 times a day, you know, because the fact that the man is being detained, not take away in dignity and the right to survival. After all, not to ask for daily, now because of what you want to accuse him of, now you make you want to detain him, most times against a wish. So if he's going to be there and he's presumed to be guilty, I mean, to be innocent of what he's accused of, then he should be treated as such, that he's an innocent person until proven guilty. And that starts from the time of detention. And that's the reason why we have to be careful. The people that want us to throw on a Pademba Road, throw on a CID in jail, just because we get the power for this so. We have to get a well-structured system. You know, there are lots of things where people ended up on a Pademba Road for, whether or not for a day, because the person not even go to trial. Then I just said this before, I had to say them again. There are people who have been in Pademba Road for years, awaiting trial. To go to trial, they've not been tried. You know? Well, why are you going to detain the person? And not that the Australian judicial system is so overwhelmed with work that they cannot try it. They just are lacking in creativity, and they just are insensitive to human sufferings. No question about that. Sierra Leone don't get that much workload in terms of court cases. I mean, they really don't. If they get somebody who understands court administration, you can wipe completely empty the docket of the Western area in 6 months. Western area go to struggle for get case for trial if they get a good structure in place. And I didn't even talk about years. There is no justification in Sierra Leone. I can take that issue there with anyone, starting from the Chief Justice or the Attorney General. I know I can suggest ideas, or I can engage them in a discussion for make them justify why a person should be locked up for years awaiting trial. There cannot be any reasonable explanation other than the fact that they are poor, nobody cares about their humanity, and nobody cares about their existence, nobody cares about their well-being, because they're poor. Poverty has a lot to do with it. And this goes to another point. What would the tribe tell people? When they throw you in a jail, your tribe no matter. If you go on a Pademba Road, there are all kinds of names there. They don't say, well, whose tribe you belong to. Okay, you don't go jail. You will go jail. Now, then they determine your status in society based upon your financial ability. That's all there is to it. Then, in furtherance of the arguments there may be reasons, but there is this known case of a member of parliament. I'm trying to think of his name. Maybe Mr. KUTUBU will think of his name. Were not detained for over a year now. An APC member of parliament. where there is absolutely no justification. I think he's accused of, I don't even want to use the word rape, because he's accused of having sex with an underage child, which is a novel thing, because a substantial number of Salonian women up country beyond Freetown are underage when they married. So I will not come up with a novel idea. But I could think of the gentleman's name. But he was a popular... Huh?
Kamarimba.
Yeah, Kamarimba. Now, this has nothing to do with politics. What people don't realize, when you allow the right of someone to be taken away from him unfairly, without judicial process, what you've done, you've enabled the power to be, regardless of where that power they come from doing it to other people. So today you will send a Kamarimba, but tomorrow it could be you, it could be your loved one, it could be somebody else. So when you protect Kamarimba, you protect the system, what we all strive for. So when they talk about democracy, it's easily said than done. Democracy not only for vote. That is not the easy part. Democracy involves fairness in the judicial system, consideration of the ordinary man in the judicial system. So a man like Kamarimba was not even an ordinary man. But there is clearly an invisible hand, based upon all the rumors, convincing rumors that we've heard, that even a judge who had issued an order of release for this man based on bonding, then all of a sudden they couldn't get him out. Not even the Chief Justice has the ability to get him out. So, I mean, people are not stupid. Say there's an invisible hand, most likely political hands, that is preventing this man from being kicked out. But you see, Kamarimba is just a symbol. The reality is will create a situation where they enable the government for do harm to others for whatever reason. It should not happen in the interest of the society. If this man is presumed innocent, politics should not creep in. And this is where it's so disappointing about how we don't allow the judicial system to be handicapped. Judges don't have any power. The courts don't have much power. The courts have to follow the dictates of the executive. And if you left the running of the judiciary to the executive, of course, they always will run it to their own best interest. Not to the best interest of the country now, but within their own section of the country, because it's a power grab. So we should never have a system whereby some invisible hand, go convince the judicial system to refuse somebody bail just because someone personally is offended or has personal animosity against that person. I don't know Kamarimba. It doesn't matter to me that he's APC or SAPP. I will be saying the same thing regardless of whether he belongs to a political party or not. Because if we talk about improving this country, if we talk about improving the system, we should rise above this vindictiveness and pettiness, not for use the system for bring undue burden on an individual just because when I get bad blood. At least the court system should be the place where everybody will be treated equally. You may not like me, I may have said something where you not like, but not because you're a minister or you're a president or you're an attorney general. You for use that system there for suppress me and punish me. Because this man, with a favor, I say he had a family, he had responsibility at home. So you're not punishing him alone. You punish in Pekin and family, and you create generational dislike, hatred, animosity, because if he were to die in prison, his own children will never ever forget that that a government allowed them papa, them brother, them Pekin for dying in prison unjustifiably. And the other thing is the government should be concerned. If he dies, how can they justify why he has not come to trial? I mean, if they feel he's so guilty and he needs to be punished, why wouldn't they put him on trial all this time? And even when the claim say the man is sick. So we need these are some of the practices that we need for stop. I'm not saying that in the form of criticism. There are a lot of things President Bio has done that he deserves extraordinary credit for. You know, last year I praised him for where he ordered the release of hundreds of inmates or prisoners. In America, I would say inmates. But where he ordered the release, that's what the president does. And that was great. Last year, I praised him for the fact that we also get rid of this libel law, you know, that was being abused and was being used to oppress free speech and political expression as well as free expression. I mean, and these are things the man deserves a lot of credit for, in the sense that the libel law that was passed in 1965, around the time President Bio was probably almost maybe 5 or 4 years old, and we've had series of heads of state who have come and they never even decide to do anything. He deserves, these are landmark decisions that he will go down in the history books of having made remarkable changes in the country. He also, this past year, get Parliament for abolish capital punishment, because there is a strong argument against capital punishment. Because capital punishment, at the end of the day, it does not prevent murder. The fact that you go hang somebody or kill somebody because he killed somebody, no, then say people don't know kill other people, because people kill people for a variety of reasons, out of a variety of reaction, you know. So it doesn't stand to reason that because somebody commit murder in this day and age, we're not talking about the 15th century, 16th century, but in the 21st century, it doesn't stand to reason. If you say killing is bad, what gives the government the power, other than the sheer power, to do what in the government they say is not a good thing? If you say for kill not a bad thing, why you want for kill? Just for sure we say you get the power to do that? Or I thought the government for lead by example. So President Bio has done that, in the sense that this is what I call leading by example, and say, and it don't bring we to the level of civilized nations, because most countries, even this America, I had to talk about so. One of the criticism America gets, and then they do a lot of things just because of the power we then get. But there are a lot of wrong things. America doesn't even fall in line with the European nations who are saying, listen, capital punishment is barbaric. It's old-fashioned. So President Bio bring we at that level there, where we even there above that. You know, we're there above America in terms of that level there of membership of countries that would abolish capital punishment. We need to give him a lot of credit for that. And so there are a lot of things in my line of work, but he also need to understand that prison na people in there. I've seen cases where people are being in solitary confinement. People just don't know what solitary confinement is. That is when they put you in a lockup, no light, all by yourself. It creates mental problem for people. You lock somebody up. If you don't believe, experiment that. Let authority then tell and say, when I experiment, go lock me up in any jail for 1 week. I not to see anybody, lights no day, pass when I come when I shop the food to me like a dog. 1 week later, that person they could almost go crazy. So we get solitary confinement. I even see that up country. Then they even do unto women. And also they get situation where then they lock pregnant women them up. And then sometimes even in some prisons or some jails back home where then they lock women them up. These women have no protection against sexual attack or against, they would just say, sexual advances, you know. So this is all part of the judiciary. We'll get to look at it holistically. And that takes me to another point. This is the reason why the Attorney General should not be a minister. He should just be Attorney General. Because if he's a minister, and a responsibility I need for tackle all the things with the talk so. If he's a minister, he should do what in the government want. But if you're not the AG, you forget some degree of autonomy or independence where you will be able for advocate them here. And this is what good government can do. You know, good government, you get to look out for the ordinary man, for the poor man, for the weak, for take care of the least among us, not for always encourage the powerful or protect the powerful. And so again, like I can always say, government involves heavy lifting. It's easy for one to be a leader, but it's not easy to run a country because there are all kinds of forces and persuasion and temptation coming from every direction. And the test of you, the leader, or the group of leadership, is an ability for resist unjustified temptations. You know, if you are tempted to do good, that's fine. Against evil, that is a good thing. But if you are tempted to oppress the poor, the weak, just because the weak cannot give you financial satisfaction or whatever the reason be, that's poor leadership. That's not governing. That's not governance at all. So in the line of, and also one last aspect of the judiciary or law enforcement is the area of law enforcement. We need to go back and review with system. Why does the police chief have the power to single-handedly suggest certain regulations or, I mean, basically laws? The police chief will grab and say, if I instruct the arrest of everybody or anybody, will get spray can, pepper spray. The police chief shouldn't have that power. Only parliament should have that power. Or only a city, you get that power through city ordinance. But it actually come, nobody elected the police chief for pass laws. In job, they appoint and for enforce existing laws. And lastly, my gripe with the system, the legal system, the lawyers, when these things arise, why aren't the lawyers going to court and challenging the excessive use, or in law we will say the extrajudicial use of power, of judicial power? When the police make such a thing, sometimes it's just worth filing for an injunction. Let the court decide. We need to give the court more say. We need to restructure the legal system. Look at our courthouse. The courthouse is old. And they talk about the main courthouse, Shaka Stevens Street. It's old, it's antiquated, it's not up to date. You know, that building is about 200 years old. Elevator not daily. It's not central air conditioned. You know, get cafeteria, get air. I mean, there's so many things wrong. Are we waiting for the European Union, as we normally see, for till we say we need all that in there? What is the matter with us? Don't we know what we need and try for do what we need money from European Union? We don't get the money for do that. We for modernize the courthouse. That courthouse there, I get a suggestion to the government. Turn it into the museum and build a modern, state-of-the-art courthouse that could be a pride for the nation. The government gets locations then. We don't have to have a courthouse downtown. We can get a modern courthouse, a big, impressive building, na New Englandville, na Tower Hill, na other areas where government get land. And these are the reasons then why government can accumulate land sometimes, not for just begin take crown land, they sell them, which some of our brothers they within our government not seem to understand. Now for keep them for future generations. Because like I always say, as long as this dunya exists, Sierra Leone will exist. And as far as I know, Sierra Leone is going to exist another millions of years. So what's going to happen if we use up all the land now? So we're not even thinking in terms of 1 million years from now. We're not even thinking in terms of 1,000 years from now. We're not even thinking in terms of 100 years from now. We just think about today. You cannot structure a country that way. So there are a lot of things we need to do. We need people with foresight. We need people that will get the courage for advise the president and tell and say, this is the way to go. you know, and we need people who will stand for integrity. If you think, say, you in a square peg in a round hole, waiting the government hire you for, not to that and they allow you for do, you forget the integrity for resign respectfully, you know, and say, oh, I can't for render service, not to for do as government pleases. So I'll pass it back to Mr. KUTUBU if you get anything for add to that.
Well, obviously, no need only for drum beat that. What me they do, me they look up from another angle, and at the angle of diplomacy, global diplomacy, foreign policy, prosecution. One thing we are very lacking on the part of we Leone'S and mostly we never talk about foreign affairs, foreign policy, and we fail for let's say foreign affairs also now part of governance, foreign policy now part of governance. So in that regard, yesterday I make a major broadcast yesterday, arising from waiting I see the foreign minister do that now. Professor David Francis, what he do. I make broadcast yesterday. I write up. What they do? They try for restructure. You know, foreign service. How we run a foreign policy in our country. Then see they forget the right people there. But in me write up yesterday, I talk say well, they try for play the game of catch up with Ghana and Nigeria. Ghana and Nigeria after independence, waiting they do the leaders because I talk about foresight now just now. Then we get foresight, then we get brilliant people, then leaders, and we get foresight. Waiting and do, then we know say at a point in time, then countries then get for play a role na the world stage. So they come up with institutes there, and then come with a mechanism, the structure there for trained man and woman then we go able for fitting the 21st century diplomacy. But we obviously we're not able, so we're not able to cope up, we're not able, match with Ghana and Nigeria. Because by far, we say Nigeria and Ghana, they, in terms of, foreign policy business, getting first-class diplomats then, you can match them with people then within America and as well as England, because they get institutes them where they train the people them, where really they train them, not to any. And virtually everybody where they come out for represent Salone, where we call heads of mission, either ambassadors or high commissioners, neither party people then, and friends or family members then of the leaders then. So what not happen, we don't get the wrong set of people then. Now that make it very difficult for Salone because we don't get the people that we get the requisite training. I'm going to say the real diplomats. Fortunately enough, I don't come in contact with a lot of diplomats them from Nigeria. We personally, I don't talk with them, both Nigeria and Ghana. And they see them at the world stage. If I yesterday for me broadcast yesterday now, Salone Forum, I put in the diplomats where I don't come in contact with. And waiting again, I must tell you, we don't come one thing close. If you go to the United Nations today, or AU, or ECOWAS, whatever, half of the people that are waiting at their place and we're getting jobs in there. Now Ghanaians or Nigerians, half of them will get it. More even talk about United Nations. The Deputy Secretary General from United Nations, now one lady who come on Nigeria, what they call MOHAMMED. The reason for this, we really know turn out we own people them yet way. Like I see where people they already talk about Kande Yunkela, he worked in the United Nations. So, I can laugh when I see it, I can really laugh. The reason why I laugh, not necessarily say I did downplay, but the thing is, that is they say in the country of the blind, the one-eyed man is a king. I can tell anybody with any, if Kande Yunkela had come from Ghana or Nigeria, nobody will pay attention to whatever roadway, whatever job you get in the United Nations. Here's the reason. Even the Secretary General of United, when I be Secretary General of United Nations, Kofi Annan, nobody never consider say for letting get a leadership position as I do. And then Ghana, you get people that will don't hold major out in collab. Now the international places. You go to the World Court, the World Court. You get people they don't send jurists them that they place of great standing. You even go now in national security, I must say like the international, armed forces when you are saying, peacekeepers, for Ghana president. Nigerians and Ghanaians and generals and that in the Senate, you get people like one of them got away, I can remember, General Emmanuel Askin. Even Salone, Maxwell Kobe, and they all they send in the. So they show you now, the level where Nigeria and Ghana don't go, where it comes from international diplomacy. All this now because of the, like we say, now the focused leadership where they been get, now the vision, and we all leadership did probably see so. We're lacking in diplomatic prosecution. We will not get good diplomats then. We'll be proud of it. Don't start way back from Miltimaga in your time. Now they don't start. Not to now. For Miltimaga in time, they not be seen unnecessary, or they not be getting vision for finance. Say, you know what? Today, tomorrow, we say go there at the world stage. We go there. So now prepare with man and woman. They don't do that. But like I said, Kwame Nkrumah, yes, say anything about in excesses. Some of we are way off. We are aware of the excesses then. We also are aware of Abubakar Tafa Balewa they show. But now one thing I can say, they are visionary leadership. There's some things that make where you go now then present day. Now so the young people they see either Ghanaians or now one. For example, where Salome they compete for get the job of ADB for be for ADB. Salone put up one candidate with a Samuel Kama. First in an Ebola amount. Who that get the job? Now Nigeria and I get the job. Now get the job. First innings. With Samuel good in an Ebola amount. They get the job to one Nigerian fellow. Then say they. Because the thing is, like I say, you get so the one to more they get jobs in the international place in the now by quota, but where it come from actually the one that we get the gravitas them. Where gets this look the OAU. Dr. Ablai Conte run for the job of OAU Secretary General twice. He lost all. But it was so easy for letting give the other people. All because so me believe say Professor David Francis don't come about it get a long way for go. Now that make yesterday me write in talk say they try for play the game of catch up with Nigeria and Ghana and play the game of catch up with Nigeria and Ghana. It get a long way for go. A very long way for go. So for the next time we meet, so will the lines have open? Anybody can call me for making your contribution. So Mr. SHYLLON, what you also get to give for look at other things will be happen during 2021. What you get for that? We're going to get 30 more minutes for wrap up this program.
Well, the other thing is education. And again, I want to be very careful. From my own point of view, I have spoken to a lot of people where they weaponize the free education instituted by President Bio as inadequate, which is true, but in the time for making a weapon as a negative. I am in agreement with everybody that the introduction of free education was not completely well thought out. It's a good idea for make that a promise to the people. But I always take the position that that's the reason why the president has a team. When they make that promise, when they come, if I look around, this is a large world we live in. You cannot just have on your team people there who were immediately around you before you came to power. Sometimes you have to go beyond your team and look for people that will qualify enough for make you realize what you be the promised people, because it could have been envisioned that free education is necessary, but you ask yourself, how do I accomplish it and put meaning to it? But you're not going to accomplish it if you just say, oh, okay, my friends I used to hang around with in England, or my friends I went to high school with, who are now professors, who are now this and that, and I go put on the team for achieve that. They're not getting no specialty. Notice that I'm very particular about specialization. The degree is one thing. You can get 7 PhDs and still be unqualified for certain positions. The quantity of PhDs that you have not necessarily prevent you from being referred to as unqualified for a job. Specialization matters. So my thing is, when you get a situation like the educational system, I wish the president had thought about it from beginning to end, because now you hear about books are not enough. And I don't know why the president introduced free education for involved free uniform. That, to me, I think that was bad policy. I mean, if you give people a free education, you don't provide the infrastructure and the materials what they need, like books and pens and blackboards and bench and chairs. I think you can shift the responsibility to parents for provide uniform. But it was overly ambitious from my point of view, that you say, okay, free education, so now we will give people a free uniform. I don't see where that fits in to education in and of itself, you know? And if that was of primary concern, well, you can do as we do in America. Yeah? Most of the public schools don't have uniforms. The private schools, almost all of them have uniforms. So that's where comes the creativity. But once you put into the formula or into the calculus this thing about free uniform, then it takes money, because you also now further calculate how many children, you further make projection. Because of the free education, there will be an increase in enrollment, because some beginning nobody goes to school because the parents don't get the money. Now you don't come up with a good idea, the beginning can get education, which I'm all in favor of, you know. So now when that increase there take place and you want to provide everybody 2 sets of uniforms, I mean, I don't think that's such a great idea. On the other hand, if into the calculus, this thing about 2 uniforms for everybody was for looking beyond the educational aspect and providing employment, then you go distribute the sewing of uniforms. So to other tailors, then we'll go hire people then for sewing uniform day, because you improve the economy. You know, you will get more tailors who will get contract to the government, and they should be paid on time. So I don't know what was introduced into the calculus, but that's how it went. But the policy implementation of it all was just kind of bad. And I believe it was bad because you not get too many people who specialize in education to have figured it out, because we get this problem. We know there are Salonians with degrees in education management, education administration. You'll be surprised. You know, Salonians in America who are principals of high schools, who have the expertise. You don't even have to hire them. You can tap on the expertise. That's why you have ambassadors in all these countries. Let them search around. But when you try to implement policy when halfway, then they begin to criticize you, say, oh, the schools are very inadequate, they don't get this, they don't get that. And if it's going to be a government school, if it's going to be free, the infrastructure also get to be impressive. You know, picking them for be able to get blackboard where they can see what's in the right day, decent. When they tell me go school with desk and chairs, them were very impressive back home, you know. So I am just simply suggesting that I think the president, and I'm trying my best to be as objective as I can, I think he's taken a lot of giant steps forward. But the people he gets around him, sometimes, and let me tell people also, there is virtue in saying, I don't know. Because Australians, we are full of ourselves. It's an American expression. We think, say, because you get a PhD, you know it all. No, you don't. In fact, you don't know much, period. And you should have the courage of telling people, you know what? I don't know such and such, but I'll go get somebody who will go look into it for me. What is wrong with that? But we'll find out for say, we're not victim of our own arrogance. We're not victim of our own pomposity, because we know one for say we don't know. You know, you're not a doctor, you want to do brain surgery, and you don't know. Because you feel say people are going to say, I'm in a doctor if I do that. No, that is so the world run. So when they put you in a position of power, of administration, You forget the courage for say you don't know. A good administrator know how to pick a team, know how to put smart people in team for men and get good results. Because at the end of the day, you are at the top now, you get the credit. You see? But again, that mentality that I will get for try for walk away from. Have the courage for say, I don't know. There's nothing wrong with that. Nobody's going, we all understand and appreciate education. We know it takes enormous time and dedication. Forget a bachelor's degree, forget a master's degree, forget a PhD. We know that. Forget a professional degree. We know all of that. So we're not trivialize the significance of that. But we also know that you don't know everything. You know? So don't try to impress the world that if you say you don't know something, people will look down on you. Because the country is becoming a victim of it. A lot of people are being given cabinet positions to head departments of which they don't know anything about the operation. And in the end, it becomes a disaster. So for me, the educational thing, I think, should be improved because when I look at the current state of affairs, I see people picking and they take the equivalent of what you would call common entrance. The parents, then they're all over the school compound. They carry water and food for them picking. What? How did that come about? Will they take public exam? Will they go sit GC? Will they sit common entrance? Will they sit junior cantab? Why? You know, to see one parent in a school compound. So what happened? And these changes not help the situation, it just worsen the situation. You know? So we need some creative ideas, not to just this falamakata. Because Nigeria gets and we forget them. Because Ghana gets and we forget them. No. Let we come up with some ingenious way of making things look good. One thing I can tell anybody about education in Sierra Leone, to this day, the private schools in Sierra Leone are given the quality of education Sierra Leone used to have, as I speak. Every picking where they go private international school, Lebanese school, this school, that school, they are being well educated. And we know that because we see some of the will in Canada, then performance. And we see the one that will come up public school back home when in Canada, then poor performance. So we know there's something wrong with the system. And we cannot allow that to happen. We cannot allow just the gentry picking or the well-to-do picking and forget the best education. They're not well-to-do picking and they get inferior education. It hurts the country. Because most likely these are the people who are going to become the presidents, the attorney general, the chief justices, and the parliamentarians. So the country in the end will pay the price. So it's in the best interest of the Minister of Education, the President of Sierra Leone, for me to look into making the educational system be par or at par with private school education, what would you see? Again, I repeat, the private schools, them quality of education is extremely high in Sierra Leone. It matches that of the good old days. It matches that of the quality of education we used to forget no matter which school you go. But now you see the distinct difference. You know, picking away the common private school, you know, they're way ahead in knowledge, in advancement than all the other one them. So that said, again, not a criticism now for just awake the government for letting them know say things are not being done the right way. Thank you.
All right, now, like I've been telling you, this program will not be pass out. So I want to give me your closing remarks, but in the context of your closing remarks, I want to look at Salone. We don't go for the soccer tournament, you know, waiting at the motivation we could give them. Let that be your closing remarks, sir, in the next 5-10 minutes.
Well, I get a take on the Sierra Leone soccer team. Of course, I used to be a soccer player, and I was a fairly good soccer player, so I can relate to that, and I'm proud of them. As a Sierra Leonean, when you take into account the background, the war, the devastation of the war, we've come a long way and things are working. As a Sierra Leonean, when you think in terms of how far the team has gone, we should be proud. But let me caution the government. We cannot just focus on soccer players. There are other athletes in other areas who go abroad. If you're an athlete, you go to the Olympics, you run in the name of Sierra Leone. We can't trivialize the importance of you going to run for we in the name of the country. We will encourage you just as much as we encourage the soccer player them for win the gold medal. It is not impossible for Sierra Leoneans there for win gold medal, for win silver medal, for win bronze medal. At the end of the day, the people that wouldn't win are human beings like we. Look at small Jamaica, about the size of a country, even smaller. Black people that are just like we, and are we own descendants of them. They give America and the rest of the world tough time. By women's relay, by men's relay, by 440 running them. Look at Kenya and Ethiopia. Aden dominates the marathon area of athletics. So when we get young man or woman, we get a potential there. Now we job for neutral, not the soccer no more go put you on the international stage when it comes to sports. We also by now begin to encourage other talents that we may have, but because the facility doesn't exist. Take like tennis. If a young man in Kono district or Pujano district get the ability to play tennis, we not play one day, and we see that all the time. Some people play sports very well the first or second time they get into the sport. We see Olajuwon, the Nigerian guy who was playing for the Houston. I don't know how they call him. But Olajuwon, one of them great professional basketball player in America, who never played basketball in his life until he came to America. And they came to America because he was very tall. Now the goalkeeper and a soccer, you know. Now the coach at the campus say, look, man, you get the height, they teach you basketball. But not only excel in it, he became a professional player and a very renowned professional basketball player. But you wouldn't know you have this asset unless you explore. So we don't know whether we have a tennis genius. We don't know whether we have a basketball player. So it's with duty for expose, we begin them to more sports, you know. So when they make you a minister of sport, enough to just be by name. You be so familiar with sports. If you live in America, for me, if you're a minister of sport, you're not even open a sport park. Then you don't know what you're doing. Like North Carolina here, Raleigh, North Carolina, we get one soccer facility, and soccer not the #1 sport now. There is a soccer facility that has 34 soccer fields. 34 soccer fields, full-fledged soccer fields. One facility. And soccer not the #1 sport now. You get facilities there, we get soccer, basketball, baseball, all in that one facility there. What do we have? We say soccer now #1 play and thing. Can they show you anywhere in Australia where you get 2 top-class soccer field at the same facility, let alone 34? Kerry here where I live, they get a facility where they play international match. They get about 10 soccer fields. Okay? So, but you know go figure that in there, you get to be exposed. So the problem is, would it get the blind trying to lead? I know we say the blind leading the blind, but we get the blind leading people with their eyes open. You see, when you get position, you say, oh, Minister of Sports. Sound good. But what's their background? What exposure has he had ever since living in abroad? You know, the paper qualification alone is not enough. These are some of the things we talk about. So the Australian team, the motivational speech being given by the First Lady, that's welcome. Anything motivational. Because they have to be reminded that you are going there. Don't be selfish. Don't be selfish. You're there for help in the name of your country. There is a basic rule of soccer. Don't forget begin card, pass the ball, because at the end of the day, they say, would I win? Not to would I card. You know? So the motivational speech, I heard it by the First Lady. That was great. But it shouldn't just be the First Lady or the President. It could be given by the mayor. It could be given by a chief, you know, because soccer is played all over the country. It could be given by anybody else. So enough of us left that speech then the motivational speech then only to people at the high echelon of we society. So sometimes get other people, a chief, you know, a mayor or something of that stuff there. But I'm all in favor of it. I think the more, but for expose, we begin into more sports. We're not doing that. We're limiting our ability to just soccer. But we need to introduce them to basketball, baseball, and other things that are internationally recognized. Yes, that's all I have to say.
Well, I want to thank you very much again, as usual. You know, we can take precious time off, you know, from your family members and weekends. You being a lawyer, by then and I, you could go over the little notes, whilst you also pay attention to the family, but still the kind of who start this podcast earlier with Mr. Fasuku. We talk say waiting Kennedy be say what you will give back to your country, not to what you will get back. And I must tell you, in no small measure, this is what you're doing. We can every Sunday. Imagine our 2 programs we do. I want to thank you very much. I know say management also very appreciative of what you do now. Me personally, I do. And by God power, we pray God say how 2022 don't come will be similar. Money will can go. But Alhamdulillah, I mean, then we'll continue to appeal to the audience. We fans them, viewers. So don't come back. They are part of us. We need them. We like them. Now then they make this station. They will tell them this station over there. And we lead hosts now. They in a Salone. We also remember we pray for them. Let God cover them and let come back and be part of it. So until next Sunday, this now KUTUBU on behalf of all the colleagues them, they wish you a very pleasant good night.
If I may inject something quickly, Mr. KUTUBU, I think the producer Bewantle we give a report card in terms of grading. Well, I'll give, if I have to grade overall in terms of the issues that we don't measure, the progress we don't make, I think I will do a C+.
Good.
But you don't have to.
Well, I mean, well, Lisa will fall in that line. Then they try because there are so much here to be done. Let's see how they go. You know, let it can go. And with the pray say when 2023 come, these voters them will make very informed decisions based on waiting available to them, waiting in the sea. We will carry the country go. So until we come back next Sunday, Mr. KUTUBU on behalf of all the colleagues them, they sign off.